What's up guys, I'm Kadam, and in this video I'll be doing a tier list for the beginner players that just started the game. They started a little bit later than the global release, and I want to help those players know which characters they should be trying to get. As you guys can see, I'll also rank all the SR characters for the people that don't have an SSR for every position. But if you're using one of these SRs that I'm showing you in the video, don't waste resources on them. You'll soon get an SSR character that should replace him. Alright, so this video I have a different tier list for all the positions, and I will be talking about each position separately because you can't really compare players from different positions like that. That's not how the game works. So starting off with setters, as of right now we only have one SSR setter per speciality. So if you want to run a certain specialty, you should be running that setter. In the future, we will get other setters that you can kind of compare them. But for now, these are the only options, so we don't have anything to discuss right here. Alright, so going over to the wing spiker position, and we start off with Acai SR. I think it's D tier, honestly. It doesn't bring a lot of value, and his spikes are not that strong, so for that reason, he's in the D tier. Now Tanaka SR is also D tier. He's a receive type wing spiker that doesn't buff your allies receive stat, so it's kind of hard, and he has a debuff when he spikes, but it doesn't really matter that much because the debuff is like, it's not that good. So for that reason, he's in D tier. Next up, we got Inashita, and I think he's a B tier. He's one of the best SR characters in the game. He's a really solid support, and that's all because of his second skill, that at the start of each turn, there is a 30% chance to remove one debuff from your players. And his ultimate is a receive, so it's kind of a support if you're starting off the game. Next up, we got Anamaki, and he's also going to the B tier. Now, this guy, I think he may be better than Inashita, just because he has more skills that buff your allies or debuff your opponents than Inashita, and he also has a receive. That's quite a good support character. Next up, we got Iwaizumi SR, and he's just like a replacement if you don't have Iwaizumi SSR, or Tanaka, or any other SSR really. Yamamoto is the next one, and he's going straight up to the B tier, because again, he's a support type character. He's a morale booster, so he has like two skills that increases the morale of your players, so that's kind of good. Next up, we got Fukunaga, and he's going to the C tier. He's a solid character if you're building Nekoma and you don't have all the SSR characters. You can use him as well as Yamamoto, but he's nothing special. He's just like a receive character. He buffs your receive power if all of the players in the back row are receive type players. Next up, we got Futakuchi, and he's kind of the same as Fukunaga. If you're building a block type team, then it will be solid because he will buff your block set, but that's kind of it. And this guy is just a worse version of Fukutachi, so no reason to use him. Now, starting with the first SSR, Asahi SSR, we're going to the B tier. I'll place him above the other SRs because I do think that by him being an SSR, having more stats, it's just generally better than having an SR, but yeah, he's not really good. Now Tanaka is going to the A tier, will be our first character in the A tier, and the reason Tanaka is so strong right now at the early stage of the game is that you probably have Nishinoya as your Libero, and he has a good bond with Nishinoya, and on its first spike in the game, he gets an extreme boost of power, so that spike is really strong and it's almost a guarantee point. He also has a skill that can reduce the blocking of the other team and the stamina of the receivers. Alright, next character, Iwaizumi SSR. Is our first S tier. It's just like more powerful than Tanaka. He has a skill that increases your player's strength. He has a bond with the best SSR opposite hitter, and in the future we'll also have a bond with Kawa, which is the best power setter in the game. Next we got Futakuchi SSR, and he's going straight into the A tier just because he makes a pretty OP combo with Aone, and if you're running the Dateko team, then it will be really good. Their bond gives them an extra skill So that's really strong. If you don't have any of the above characters, run him, but you'll shine the most on a Dateko team. And finally, we got Koshiki, the newest wing spiker that we got in the game. And he will be your second ace if you're going for sure to Izawa, obviously behind the Shijima. And he's going to the S tier. He's the best wing spike that I have in the game, just because he has a skill that he gets stronger each turn up to 5 times. And he also is kind of a team morale booster, so he's a really good character and probably a must if you're running sure to Izawa. Alright, so going over to the opposite hitters tier list, we'll start with Daichi SR. And he's a B tier. He's a solid replacement if you don't have an SSR character or your war character, and his ultimate buffs your next attack, so you can kind of use him if you don't have anything better. Now Kunimi is D tier, but I do have a funny story with him. So at the start of the game, I was trying to get Ushijima, and I didn't have a better opposite than Kunimi, so I was running him, and I already pulled the Ushijima memory. So I put the Ushijima memory on him, and every time he touched the ball, my team would score a point. So that's kind of my bias towards him, but yeah, he's really bad. Next up, we got Kyotani SR, and if you don't have any of the SSR characters, as I said, he's like Daichi, but Daichi is more defensive and he's more offensive, and he has a power attack that could help you if you don't have anything better. Now Kai, he's going to the C tier. He's kind of like the wing spiker from Nekoma, that if you're running Nekoma or other receive type players, you can kind of run him, but if you're not going for the receive type team, just run any of these two, or the SSR ones obviously. Now we got Sasaya SR that will go into the D tier together with Kunimi. It doesn't bring anything to the team, so don't use him. Alright, next we got Daichi, and he's our first A tier character. He boosts morale of your team, and the power-ups are power type attack characters, so really good character overall. And if you're going for that Karasuno team bond that you don't have opposite hitter, run him, because he's really solid defensively and again can boost your attack. Sasaya SSR B tier, because you would only run him if you're running Dateko or you don't have any of the better options. He isn't like Futakuchi that has a bond with the other Dateko characters, so he doesn't have like that OP bond that Futakuchi does with Aone, so you kind of just running him for the Dateko team buff, and yeah, that's all about him. Now Kyotani SSR is going in A tier above Daichi. This one, they are comparable, but like Kyotani is much more offensive and Daichi is much more defensive, so depending on what you need, you can decide which one you can run. But I will say that Kyotani, as I mentioned when I was ranking Iwaizumi, that they have a bond together, and he's the best SSR opposite in the game. So in JP, he can still compete. He has a good serve, strong attacks, really good character. And then lastly, obviously, Ushijima is going to the S tier. He's probably the best opposite in the game, even in JP. You can compare him to Osamu. They're like the two best opposite hitters in the game, and he's really strong. Especially when you combo him with a power type setter, he just becomes a monster. Alright, so going over to the middle blocker position. Firstly, I want to say one thing, that SSR Tsukishima on global is given out for free if you start a new account. He's given on the 7th day login bonus. For that reason, the SR characters for this position are less valuable because you always have a middle blocker when you start a new account. We'll start with SSR Hinata, and we'll go into the base here. He's a really solid attack focused middle blocker, and he's given out for free in the tutorial, so you always have him. And if you don't have a second middle blocker, you can try to like build him for the start of the game. Now we got SR Tsukishima. As I said, you always have SSR Tsukishima, so D tier. Now Yamaguchi is a really interesting character. I would say he goes into the A tier because he's a really good pinch server, and usually middle blockers are not that good serving in this game, so having a pinch server to swap when your middle blocker goes to the back row is really good. Now Kindaichi, C tier. He has a little bit of value, but nothing special, as well as his teammate. You're probably not gonna really use them, like these SR characters. Inoka is also D tier. We have C tier. These characters, they, at the best case, they have like a skill that gives you a minor buff, so just keep in mind that the two best middle blockers SR that you can get is Yamaguchi and Hinata. Now we'll go to the SSR ones. So Hinata is a battle pass unit. Everyone that starts an account will have his banner for a month, so it's kind of like a free SSR that you can get just by completing missions. And for that reason, I'll put him in A tier. It's kind of like a better version of the SSR Hinata. His block is nothing special, but he shines with a quick attack setter. So if you have Kageyama, you can pair them and Hinata will be extremely good on your offense. Next up, we got Tsukishima, probably the best middle blocker for a beginner since, as I said, he's given out for free and he has a really good block, he applies the buff on the enemies, really solid middle blocker, and one of the best if you're starting a new account. Next up, Aone SSR is a good middle blocker, especially if you're running the Dateko team, especially Futaguchi, as I said, in the Wing Spiker tier list. They have a really strong bond, and if you're running all the 4 SSRs from Dateko, it will be really strong in the early game. You can kind of use him for second middle blocker, or you can use him as main middle blocker in your second team. You decide, but he's a really good middle blocker. Next up, we have the newest middle blocker and the newest UR in the game. UR Kuro, obviously, is going into the S tier and number 1. He's the best middle blocker in the game right now. If you just started your account, you can try to pull him. Probably don't have enough time to go to the PD, but try to summon him if you're new. And if you're watching this after the banner leaves, there will be some other options in the future, and it'll also come back, so you can get him when he comes back if you want. If you want to know what he does a little bit better, I'll leave in the description and in the card my video when I break down his kit, so go watch that video if you're interested in learning what the character does. Next, we got SSR Kuro. He's also a solid option for your middle blocker. Also, he's better than Hinata, just because generally you want a more defensive middle blocker than an offensive one, so I would say his value is better than Hinata. But yeah, it's just kind of a replacement for like your second middle blocker or maybe your main middle blocker of the second team. Next, we got Liev, and unfortunately, Liev is not that good. He doesn't have a ton of skills that buff your team, or doesn't really have like great skills for himself as well. He's kind of a mix between a defensive character and an offensive character, and it doesn't shine in any of them. So that's the reason he's going to the B tier. But as I said in one of my videos, if you pull Kuro and you want to run the Nekoma team, you have to run him, unfortunately. And finally, another middle blocker that came out with Kuro, Tendo. And obviously, if you have Ushijima, he's a character that could be in our lineup for a really long time, because it can be like your second middle blocker. If you get Kuro, then it will be your second middle blocker. If you get Urugami that will come out in the future, or any other SP middle blocker, it could be your second middle blocker if you have a Shijima, obviously. So for that reason, he's going to the S tier. He has really solid blocks. His skill resonance, I know I didn't talk about skill resonance in this video, but his skill resonance too is really good. So this is the tier list for the middle blockers. And finally, we have the Libero tier list. And as you can see, we only have 4 Liberos in the game that are above the SR rarity. And honestly, this will be really quick. Just like SRs in a tier and then Nishinoya in the other one. In a week, we should be getting Yaku SSR, and it'll be in S tier. He's a little bit better than Nishinoya, but yeah, you don't have to invest in him if you already have Nishinoya. Only if you have an Nekoma team, obviously. This concludes our tier list. I'll go over all the tier lists so you guys can take a screenshot if you want. That was all for today. Take care and bye.